What is up, Tomboy Official? What's going on? It's been a few days since I've posted anything. But yeah, Pride Month is unfortunately over. We're now in the month of July. So today, I've kind of started brainstorming over the weekend about what's going to go on next weekend and solidifying my plans. So it looks like Friday, I'll be down in San Diego. It's Black Pride this weekend, but I've also got some other plans with some friends to meet kind of on an individual note outside of just like the clubs and the parties and stuff. But we'll probably be grabbing drinks and stuff, but we'll probably still be like out on some patios at some bars or clubs, but just kind of catching up and stuff. But I might not sound like it, but I'm super excited about the trip. Like it just kind of helped me realize, how much I miss San Diego. Like I'm pretty much still debating, on this Africa trip. Like I can either take 2 trips to San Diego or 1 trip to Africa, and it's like, I know that people would probably be like, okay, like of course go to Africa, like that only makes sense, but I don't know, like I don't know, my people, my community, most of my life is down in San Diego. Like I've definitely got family, extended family that's gonna be in Africa, but a lot of these people are new to me, other than my immediate family members who I've just seen within the last 6 months. So I don't know, guys. There's still time. I think I'm gonna figure that out this week, but I'm like, man, like that cuts into my summer funds. It's part of my car and apartment funds, which is all part of my plan to hopefully be back in San Diego. We'll see still if I can make it by September, because by the time this month is over and once I get the Africa trip done, if that's what I'm doing, it's gonna be August, and that means just 1 more month. And I do not have it all figured out yet, guys, so I don't know, like, part of me is like, yeah, like I love being around San Diego. I have a lot of ally friends, a lot of queer friends, versus my family. It's like a pretty closeted situation, so it's not something we talk about. I'm gonna be in a country for a week with people that I don't really talk about this kind of stuff. I dress the way I dress, I look the way I look. South Africa is not known for being the most open-minded about LGBT culture, so there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, I don't feel unsafe, I just feel I'm in some ways probably gonna feel at home connecting with family, and then in some ways I'll feel like I'm definitely not home. This isn't, maybe I'm passing through, but it's not necessarily there's parts of cultures that I feel like I don't know, I think it's a problem that a lot of people who are kind of multicultural have to deal with. And I don't mean just like only ethnic, but it's like, if you're raised in a religion that's like the religion I was raised in is pretty different from what I grew up like the people outside of the religion, like in mainstream society that I knew from like probably college and up until work and now. all those people have been like not like I was not a majority belief system. I was not part of the majority belief system, so I always was kind of like a little odd with my beliefs. Not that I'm totally off with it now, but I still have like some traditions of my own and certain things I value and things like that I kind of see around me that like some people don't really value. And it's fine. Everybody, we can still be friends. It doesn't mean anything necessarily, but yeah, we don't really get to see much of each other, I guess. Other than like weddings, like as far as the family. And then I yeah, like religion's one cultural thing. Another thing's always been just like the way I dress. Like I've never really been too much in a community of people who really like got that. Not until I moved like into the job that I was in, which is pretty interesting because I know when I was growing up, that was one of the complaints that I remember, having parents telling me like, oh, like, well, before you start working, you're going to have to work on your clothing style and your hair, length of your hair. Like it should be longer and like straightened and not natural and all this kind of stuff. Like, basically you need to femme it up a little bit or else you're not going to work, That was kind of like the message I got, going into college. And then, but I was always kind of like, like I'll deal with that when the time comes, because I was never working like office jobs. I was working like out on like playgrounds and stuff like that with kids, so I never really had to worry about like really dressing up too much. When I taught the computer class, I kind of dressed up a little, like, but when I knew I was going to be, or like in the mornings, but when I knew I was going to be like outside, on the playground, I started just wearing a little more casual kind of stuff. And that was one of my earlier jobs, other than like the one when I was like 14 packing laptops, and then like some other jobs like that. Like nobody cared how we dressed. We were just like grunt work for these guys in a warehouse who didn't really want to do anything. They didn't want to do that part, and they paid us like $14 an hour or something. And I think I was like 14, 15 years old. And we just go in and work every so often. I don't think I picked up my check. I can't remember, honestly. But yeah, I went and did that, and as far as like cultural stuff, that's kind of like the main stuff that would come up, like outside of like ethnicity and stuff like that. And I don't even, when I'm around my family, I don't really think about relationships. In all honesty, it's really hard to really get into a headspace where I'm like even considering that. I've really noticed that moving into where I'm living now, it's like it's hard for me to even go. Like even when I went to Compton Pride, I didn't say anything. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to Compton Pride. Like it's a little bit different, like living in the house versus before. I think when I was outside of the house, I would kind of say what I would do. Like my family knows I go to Pride events and stuff, but this year I never mentioned it once. Even when I went to Hamburger Mary's during LA Pride weekend, I didn't mention that either. And then, I mean, now when I go down to San Diego, I'm not going to mention that I'm going to Pride events either. So it's like, you know, it's a little different living in the house. I'm like, I don't really want to talk about even that. And then, you know, even trying to like consider like dating apps, it's like, well, no, not while I'm living here. You know, there's just a lot of levels of discomfort. And not that anybody's making me uncomfortable. I'm just not comfortable with it. You know, I don't really have like a protocol or some kind of method to go about, you know, living my adult life while living in this house. It's like those are two separate things, you know. There's a lot of things that my folks kind of feel like I'm not like not capable, but there's stuff that they kind of would still like prefer to have their hand in. Things like, you know, changing the linens, cleaning the dishes, stuff that's like, I can totally do that kind of stuff on my own. But it's stuff like that I'm just like, okay, like whatever. But I don't really say where I'm going when I go places. I don't really inform anybody anymore. I just go. And especially because I'm not like going a lot of places overnight or late at night. So it's like, I just go do what I'm gonna go do. But yeah, I don't really like not really being able to easily come and go without feeling like somebody's gonna be like, where were you? Who were you with? Kind of thing. And usually I'll just say like nothing, nobody, like whatever, you know, like that's the extent of that conversation. And sometimes I'll say who I was with, but it's like, I don't know, to me it's like I feel like I don't really want to talk about it. I'm not too interested in like talking about it. I want to do it and just keep it to myself. And so yeah, it's not in like the simplest place to live in for that reason. But then thinking about like going to any country in Africa for the most part, but well, most of them, but you know, South Africa, you know, in particular, that country, you know, going there, it's like there's a different cultural aspect and racial and ethnic aspect that I don't get in the U.S., you know, and being around family and stuff like that, because I have a huge family. I don't get that when I'm in my day-to-day. You know, there is a lot of family that kind of lives in the U.S., but we're West Coast and they're Midwest, so it's not like they're near at all. So I don't really see them or talk to them or interact with them hardly at all. I mean, they make the effort to come and like, you know, like I don't know, they're a little older, so they've usually been quite a bit more established. But I think I'm gonna, you know, figure out how to, you know, I don't know, part of me is being really stubborn with money. So I'm trying to determine if I'm gonna like be a little more flexible on my end just to make the Africa trip happen, going against kind of like certain money that I said I wasn't gonna spend, or you know, like I don't know, just I'm not trying to say people are bullying me into it, but it's kind of like I did say I don't want to go because of finances. And then if somebody's like, well, finances weren't the issue. And I'm like, well, I do want to go. And it's not that I can't pay for it. It's just that I don't want to pay for it. But then if somebody else wants to pay for it, I'm like, isn't that kind of being a mooch? But it's like they'd rather have me go and have them pay for it than me not pay for it, because I started realizing, by this time I was expected to be fully employed. And so if I was going to take a trip, it wasn't going to be a big deal because I was expecting, okay, I'll just have that money that I made and I'll just replace it right away. Versus now, it's like, well, now it's becoming, not that it wouldn't still be an expense, because technically it's still an expense, but it's an expense that would be coming out of money that I've already saved and set aside for other things. And so to me, it's just not like financially responsible, but it's also not socially responsible to back out of something that I said I was going to try to go to. And I made the social commitment first. So I don't know. And to try to put it on someone else to pay for is another layer, because I'm like, why should I have to come out of my pocket to go against my own things? But then somebody else is like, well, they would want to come out of their pocket. Because they'd rather just have me there. But I'm like, that feels like using somebody. But then if I don't use them, I'm probably not going to go. And they really want me to go. So I'm kind of like, I don't really know what to do with that. Like, part of me feels like weird about it. Another part of me is like, am I being too stubborn? Because, like I'm like a lot of people out there. I wouldn't say I always make the most financially responsible decisions. I like to party. I like to go to raves. I like to go to concerts. I spent the last like 3 months, the first 3 months of this year traveling a lot. I went to Vegas maybe, was it once or twice? I went snowboarding like 3-4 times to the mountains. I went down to San Diego probably 3, 4, 5 times or so. I don't know. I've lost track by this point. But that was more than 3 months. It was more like 5 months. And then once June hit, I kind of calmed everything down. And so, yeah, this trip at the end of July was supposed to be my last trip. Because the one when I went to Vegas for Sick New World Fest, that was going to be my last trip. But the San Diego trips, I don't really count really as trips. They're more like, it is a form of a trip, but it's like, I have to, maintain my relationships down there too. And for my own mental health, I just feel better when I'm down there. I feel better when I'm around my friends. They get me. Like, these are the kind of conversations I can have with them, I find myself with family members kind of avoiding everyone. I'm kind of like, I don't really want to deal with anyone or anything. I kind of just want to do my own thing, I guess yeah, I'm not like super upset, I'm just trying to figure some stuff out for the rest of the week for the most part. But yeah, taking some time to do that. And so yeah, that's all that's happening on the queer front. Been kind of rewatching The L Word. I just needed to watch some queer content. I'm just like, man, like, Like, I watched Ashley Gavin's new episode as soon as it dropped. Like, there's just stuff that I've just been watching right away. Mac Injimy stuff. And, okay, this is my own form of news, okay? Because you guys know I'm not very well informed. I come across stuff, but just some stuff I've been coming across that I just want to mention. I'm trying to think which one to start with. So, I guess the quickest one is, I'm not trying to, like, cancel people or call them out or whatever, but, let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. What was it? Okay. Sorry, I have to go back into my history. Sorry, I forgot what I was looking for. My bad, guys. So let's see. Okay, there it is. So, a lot of you guys know I like financial topics. So, Graham, Stefan, and Jack have had this podcast called the Iced Coffee Hour that started sometime during the pandemic, just like a lot of other podcasts did, and it's usually a pretty good one. So the recent episode called Meet the Anti-Ben Shapiro, they talk about greed, capitalism, and masculinity. I didn't get into the topic about masculinity, but I'll probably listen to that as well because it sounds interesting. So yeah, the guy they're interviewing, I can't click on it because the video is gonna start playing. He's got blue hair in the thumbnail. I don't know his name. It says the anti-Ben Shapiro, but I don't remember the actual guy's name. So whoever that guy is with the blue hair that they're interviewing, they interview people who got wealthy, by pretty much entrepreneurial people, who got wealthy by, making their own business of some form. And so, I'm totally gonna blank on what he did, but the whole purpose I was mentioning him is because I think he's a streamer, like Twitch or something, like some kind of platforms like that. I don't know exactly, but I think he said something or has a history of saying things that seem controversial against trans people. I was listening to kind of the way he talks, saying that, he was raised in a religion, came out from a religion and became atheist, which, I don't know if atheism is considered a religion or not. I guess, they don't believe in God, but it's still a belief system, so I don't really know. But, he was kind of talking about how he thinks about things and how he dissects things, like, mentally, to look at different viewpoints. And I kind of like that part of the conversation, but I don't know, I find him to be quite a bit rambly, so it's kind of hard for me to follow for sure. I like to hear about how people think, though, because usually when somebody's like, oh, they said like some anti, this group of people type of thing, and then you hear the person talking, you're like, this person's a complete idiot, you know what I mean? But what was interesting about him is, I'm not saying he didn't say insensitive things, and I don't know what he said. I think it was having to do around trans people and something with like medical care. I don't know at all, because he didn't go into the details about it. But they do kind of briefly graze over it, and I'm pretty sure there's a way to find out if you can look him up and just put trans comments next to his name or whatever, there's probably some information in there. And I think he got banned for some kind of hateful speech or something like that. I don't know if it was recent, but it sounds like he said or did, likely said something, maybe while streaming or in some of his content. And I don't know what it was, but something about that rubbed me the wrong way. Like, it's just kind of like when you've been listening to someone's content for so long. Like, I've been listening to that Iced Coffee Hour podcast almost weekly, up until maybe the past like couple months or so. I've noticed I don't really like wait for it to come out. Like, I've kind of like naturally a little bit moved on from it a little bit, maybe because like the people they've been interviewing don't really interest me as much. Like, there's like a lot of topics of people that I don't really want to, I don't really know who they are all, so I just don't watch. But there's some of them that I was really intrigued by, like the OnlyFans one, and the one who was, there's a recent one with a lady who, she does some kind of like live stream cosplay kind of thing, and I think gaming as well. And she seemed pretty cool, but it was kind of like this whole dynamic talking about like how males are, cis straight males are towards her, and I found it interesting, just the way she commented about stuff, and me being someone who would, who, I'm not saying that she's necessarily my type, but I would say she's an attractive person. That was definitely noticeable. And I was just thinking like, wow, if there was an attractive person that I was into and they were online and they were streaming and I was engaging with their content, I don't think I would say a lot of the things that those guys were saying. Like, I don't think I would ever say that kind of stuff, but I know a lot of guys who do. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting the way some guys think sometimes. But I mean, I love hanging out with guys, but it's just different. Like, culturally it's different, the way they talk and can talk about things, like, and especially when it comes to like physical attractiveness or like relationships and stuff like that. I do find the things they say to be kind of like, they can be really insightful. Like, a lot of the guy friends I have are pretty well-mannered when they're talking about stuff. Like, they're not like usually saying things where you're like, oh my gosh, here goes this guy again, like I do know a couple people who have gotten like that before, but they're not like usually that way all the time. But I do have one friend, I'd say, who really kind of I don't really know. I think they've crossed over to some other side where they're no longer very mild-mannered anymore, so I don't really know. But and not to say that women are mild-mannered. I mean, I listen to a lot of Ashley Gavin's content, and she talks about hooking up with women all the time. Like, it's not like, it's not like women don't talk about it either, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of different. Like, but this guy, I mean, he wasn't really talking about like women or anything. He wasn't like Andrew Tate or anything like that. Like, he was just, I don't know what he said because he didn't go into the details about it. But it sounds like he has some very strong opinions about trans people that somebody felt was offensive. And so I'm gonna go with the side of he possibly offended someone, unfortunately. And I don't know if it was allies who spoke up or trans people themselves who spoke up, but somebody was speaking out against him, and I mean, that's not good to hear. And then just seeing him go on with the interview, like, because that came up early in that Iced Coffee Hour interview, and then they just continued to speak about other stuff. So they did kind of try to get him to expand a little bit on it, but I'm curious as to what he said. I didn't go out of my way to look it up because I was like, should I look it up? Because I don't really know. But it was just a little... I didn't finish the episode because I felt a little conflicted about, like, I don't know what I think about this guy. Like, it's hard for me to be like, okay, if this guy's going to be talking crap about trans people, do I really want to listen to the other stuff he has to say? But, like, not that the Iced Coffee Hour was saying that. They were interviewing this guy, and he was saying that. And they usually do pretty good with the guests that they get. But, I know that when they got Tech Lead, people were like, this guy's controversial. How could you have him on here? I think he was the only guy. I think they also had Liver King on there, but Liver King was lying to everybody. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like, those are the only people that I feel like were having, like, some controversial thing. And just because somebody has some controversy, maybe it doesn't mean that they can't have them on, because they're not really a social justice podcast. They're like a financial podcast, and they try to get people from all different angles. And I don't know how these guys feel about, like, LGBT people. They don't seem very against, but they also don't seem to, like, go out of their way to, like, have them as part of the diverse culture. Like, most of the people that they interview are cis straight white men, and it makes sense, that's to be expected. Like, I'm not gonna say people can't just, like, not focus on race. Like, I don't think they haven't only interviewed cis straight men but that are white, but that's the majority. But that's not all who they've interviewed. They've had other people on there. Plenty of other people. So I don't, I'm not trying to, like, say that they need to have more races or more, sexualities or more gender identities, or, like, I really don't know what I think about that. I mean, it's their podcast. I don't think they're necessarily trying to cater to every diverse background. I think their goal is to provide entertaining content to their viewers, and I think they know the demographic of their viewers and what the demographic is looking for, and most of their demographic is cis straight white men of a certain age range. And so just like with queer creators, a lot of queer creators only have queer people on their podcasts. And, so I can't really, because they're catering towards queer people. So, I mean, I talk about other stuff on this podcast that's not queer stuff, but I try not to, other than the daily posts when I do post them. Other than those, I don't really post too much other stuff. So and sorry, I know I'm talking really slow. I've got a lot on my mind, but yeah, I was like, well, if I'm not doing anything particularly queer, I might as well just talk about the things that are coming up, because I've definitely got stuff coming up, stuff that's on my mind, but not necessarily stuff that I can make multiple particular little videos out of, or episodes out of, but maybe. So I don't know what to call this. Maybe it's my news update. I don't know. I'd like to have some cute little title for it, but I really don't know. It's just, but yeah, there's definitely a part of me that's like, I'm ready to get back, I got a little more motivation, put in some job applications Friday. There's a lot, there's like 4 or 5 tests I have to submit, those skill tests and things. So I've got to submit some of those tests and some phone interview answers, and I'm just a little bit tired. I think I've got to talk about some strategies and stuff too. Like, it's just a lot. Like, I don't have the energy to finish these applications right now. Last week was actually pretty hectic. Busy. It wasn't hectic. It was busy because I was home most of the week, and I was working on projects most of last week and up till Friday. I was so out of steam, but I did what I had to do, and that was the day I made it to the gym, right? I enjoyed myself. That was a really good day. Once I got to the gym, it was a really good day. But yeah, I'm definitely missing my friends. I definitely will feel much better once I can see them. I don't know. Yeah, I have plans Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm debating if I'm gonna make plans Monday, if I'll stay an extra day. I gotta look at the money, see what the money says. So, yeah, because I think I'm gonna rent a car. I haven't decided fully yet. The thing is, if I don't rent a car and then I check out early and I still want to hang out with my friends, I'm gonna be like carrying my bags all over the place. Because when I go to hotels, I usually bring like utensils and stuff. Because I'm not flying, I'm just driving down to San Diego. So I bring like utensils and like cutlery and stuff, and get a place with a fridge, and so I can try my best to eat in, even though I don't always do a good job of it, but I can try my best to eat like in, So that's what I'll be doing. I kind of want to, I don't know. I kind of had like an idea where I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. But I don't know. There's one extra person that I kind of want to invite out, that I kind of am like, well, if I do, they might want to sleep over. And that's kind of where my head's like, that's not a bad idea, But I'm also kind of like, I don't know. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe I should leave that alone. But maybe it will motivate me. I don't know. But, I don't know what I want to do with that. I'll think about it. Like at the moment, my energy is kind of like low in a weird way. I decided to take a couple days to just kind of sit and like brainstorm, like forced brainstorming, daydreaming. I know it might sound pointless, but it's not a waste of time for me, because I can strategize and work through a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to figure out. And then this is as far as I've gotten. I haven't figured it all out yet, obviously. So, yeah, I'm gonna figure it out more, and then, I'm not too sure exactly what I'm gonna do when I like what our plans are gonna be for the people I'm meeting in San Diego. I know what I want to do, but I don't know what they want to do. So, yeah, I'm kind of excited about seeing them and everything. And, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I think I think that was about it. I think there was one thing that I was kind of weirded out by, but I never looked into it. But I was like, because I'm like, I want to find some new LGBT content, like, and so I was just like, easiest thing would seem go into YouTube and type LGBT. And when I type that in, it's all news stories. It's just news. About like things about policies, things about people's popular or unpopular opinions. A lot of, religion-based people protesting and such. And it was just Pride Month, and so I'm pretty sure a lot of it's new. There's still Pride celebrations rolling out throughout the year. So I don't know, but yeah, it's a little bit I don't know. Yeah, like that was just concerning. I was just like, dang. But yeah, I don't think I have that much more to say. That's kind of all that's kind of on my mind as far as things for updates. And yeah, with that, thanks for listening.